I have written the official incident assessment for Outpost Carrick 7 3 times now. Each version is longer than the last, and none of them satisfy the Oversight Board. Because the Oversight Board wants a clean explanation. And there isn't one. What I can give them is what I saw. I was in the observation gallery above Pit 4 on the night Cadet Reyes walked in. Chair. Was in the corridor outside the sealed gate on the night Commander Heverick made the last significant mistake of his career. I will start at the beginning, and I will not embellish, because the facts are already more than enough. The Dravac had been at Carrick 7 for 11 months before Reyes arrived. We had acquired it as a combat asset. The species is used by 3 outer reach fleets as a pit fighter and perimeter anchor, and the records on this particular specimen were exceptional. 8 limbs, the forward 4 tipped with articulated talon clusters. Carapace plating across the dorsal ridge in overlapping black-green sheets, each plate edged with a faint bioluminescent amber that brightened when it was agitated, which was most of the time. Mass approximately 900 kilograms. Height at the shoulder, when it chose to lower itself to a walking posture, was level with my chest, and I am not a small individual. In 11 months it had put 6 handlers in the medical bay. The 7th had simply refused to enter and accepted the demotion. The beast pens allocated to it had been reinforced twice. The gate on Pit 4 was a triple-locked pressure seal rated to hold a Vorth siege ram, and we had watched the Dravac test it with a patience that suggested it was counting the welds. We assigned Reyes to Pit 4 because Reyes had argued with Heverick about a supply manifest, had been correct about the manifest, and had said so in front of witnesses. This is the honest accounting. The assignment was punitive. The formal notation reads, cross-training rotation, beast handling, division, which is the kind of language that means the opposite of what it says. 3 of my colleagues in the gallery that first night had placed credit wagers on the medical outcome. I did not participate. I also did not leave. Reyes came through the lower access at the 18th hour. He was carrying a standard handler's kit, the restraint pole, the nutrient canister, the diagnostic scanner, and he had his data pad tucked under one arm. He was reading something on the data pad as he walked in. He did not look up when the access sealed behind him. He set the canister down near the trough, clipped the restraint pole to his belt, without unfolding it, ran the scanner in a slow arc toward the far end of the pit where the Dravac was, watching him from the shadows, and then sat down on the equipment crate near the wall and went back to his data pad. The Dravac was in the far corner. Its amber edge glow was high and steady. That was the agitation state. It watched him, he read. About 4 minutes passed. The 3 colleagues in the gallery had gone very quiet. The Dravac moved first. Not a charge. It didn't lower its head the way it did before a strike. It moved the way it moved when it was examining something unfamiliar, which I had only seen it do once, with a new piece of reinforced gate hardware. It crossed the pit in that examination gate, slow and 8-limbed and nearly silent for something its size, and it stopped approximately 2 meters from the crate where Reyes was sitting. It brought its head down. The head is broad, flat with sensor clusters behind the jaw ridge, that the species uses for chemical and thermal reading, and it held that position. Reyes looked up from his datapad. He looked at the Dravac's head for a moment. Then he reached out with his free hand and scratched the base of the sensor cluster ridge. In the gap between the first and second carapace plate where the softer integument runs. The amber glow went out, not dim, out. I have the sensor logs. At 18:23:7, the bioluminescent threat marker on the Dravac of Pit 4 dropped to 0 and did not return that night. My colleague Dresch made a sound I had never heard her make before. I believe it was involuntary. The Dravac folded its forward limbs and settled onto the floor of the pit beside the crate. Not in a crouch. In a resting posture. Its head stayed near Reyes's knee, and Reyes went back to reading, and his hand moved periodically to the carapace gap, without him appearing to think about it, the way you might tap a surface while you concentrate on something else. He finished the feeding rotation, logged the scanner results, and left at the 21st hour. The Dravac watched the access seal behind him, and then turned 3 slow circles and lay down facing the door. This happened every night for 19 days. I stopped writing it up as an anomaly after the 3rd night, Because I did not have the vocabulary for what I was watching. I have the vocabulary for threat response modification, and behavioral conditioning, and pack imprinting, and none of those frameworks fit. The Dravac was not conditioned. It was not tricked. It had read Reyes in those 4 minutes of stillness, and arrived at a conclusion that 19 days of subsequent evidence did not contradict. Conclusion precisely I cannot say. I can say that on the 9th night it moved the equipment crate, with Reyes sitting on it, 4 feet to the left, apparently because the ambient temperature differential at the original position was not acceptable. Reyes let it move him without comment and went back to reading. By the 15th night 3 of the other beast handlers had started timing their feeding rotations to coincide with Reyes's, so they could use the adjoining observation slit. They said they were monitoring for behavioral transfer effects on the adjacent pit animals. They were watching because it was the most interesting thing at Cadet 7 and everyone knew it. On the 19th night, Reyes was late. A supply audit had run long. He came through the access 22 minutes past the scheduled hour. The Dravac had been pacing. I have the motion logs, and when the access opened it, crossed the pit in approximately 4 seconds and pressed its head against Reyes's chest with enough force to move him back a step. He put both hands on the carapace ridge and said something I could not hear, through the gallery glass. The amber glow stayed dark. After a moment the Dravac pulled back, turned and walked to the trough to eat, and Reyes sat down on the crate and watched it with an expression I would describe as mildly pleased, the way someone looks with the meaning they suspected thought turns out to be true. I should have filed the full account to oversight then. I have considered this at length. I did not because I did not know what I would be filing, and because Commander Hevrak had already expressed displeasure at the duration of the cross-training rotation, and I did not want to give the situation additional visibility before I understood it. On the 21st day, Hevrak came to the Beast Pen corridor himself. There had been a secondary infraction. Reyes had submitted his supply audit results directly to the logistics officer, rather than routing them. Hevrak's desk first, which was technically within protocol, but which Hevrak read as a deliberate slight, which it may well have been. Hevrak came to the corridor outside Pit 4 during Reyes's rotation, at the 21st hour, when the access was sealed and the gallery above was empty except for me. I was there because I had begun to form a theory, and I was not yet certain whether to act on it. Hevrak did not wait for the rotation to complete. He keyed the exterior intercom and told Reyes to come out. When Reyes came through the axis and sealed it behind him, Hevrak told him, at volume, that routing protocol existed for reasons that exceeded Reyes's current grade level, and that if Reyes found the cross-training rotation disagreeable, he was welcome to extend it indefinitely, and then he struck him. An open-handed blow across the left shoulder. Hard enough that Reyes moved with it. It was not the worst thing I had seen a superior officer do in a garrison setting. It was not even unusual. I have written that in the assessment and I stand by it as context, not as excuse. What followed is the part the oversight board finds difficult. The Dravac was 43 meters away behind the sealed gate of Pit 4. The gate, as I noted, was a triple-locked pressure seal rated for a Vorth siege ram, reinforced twice since the animal's arrival, with a manual override that required 2 key sets and a biometric confirm. There was no external stimulus that should have carried a clear signal through that gate. I do not know what the animal sensed. Thermal bleed from the corridor, possibly. Acoustic. Chemical trace. I cannot tell the board what mechanism it used because I do not know. I can tell the board how it happened in the 3 seconds after Hevrak's hand connected with Reyes's shoulder. The gate came off its housing. Not the locking mechanism, the housing itself, the recessed frame that the gate seated into, which was load-bearing structural material. The gate and the frame came away from the corridor wall as one piece, and landed in the corridor approximately 8 meters from where Hevrak was, standing. The Dravac came through the gap and crossed those 8 meters without making a sound I would describe as a run. It was something faster, and lower than a run. And it stopped between Reyes and Hevrak with its forward limbs spread and its head at Hevrak's chest level and its amber edge glow at a brightness I had not seen before and did not know the species was capable of. Hevrak did not move. I believe movement was not available to him at that moment. Reyes said something to the Dravek. I heard it this time. Because the gallery intercom was open, he said, "Easy. I've got it." His voice was level, not tight. Level, the way it always was. The same tone he used in the pit. When the beast pressed its head against his chest and he put his hands on the ridge. The amber glow began to drop. Dravak did not move away from Hevrak. It stayed between them, with its head still close to Hevrak's chest and its sensor clusters reading him continuously, and the glow dropped, not to zero, not this time. To the low idle level I had come to understand meant the animal was present and watching and had not yet decided the situation was resolved. Reyes put his hand on the rear carapace ridge, and the glow dropped another register. Hevrak was transferred to the administrative division at Cadet 7 the following morning. The request originated from Hevrak's own desk, processed it without delay. In the assessment I have written, the third version, which I believe is the one I will actually file, I describe the Dravek's behavior as anomalous pack bonding response, and note that the animal's assignment to Pit 4 should be reviewed given the structural damage. This is accurate as far as it goes. What I have not written, because I do not know how to write it in the language of an official assessment, is what I saw on the Dravek's face in the moment after Reyes said, "Easy, I've got it." The amber glow coming down. The sensor clusters turning, just slightly, away from Hevrak and toward Reyes. The 8-limbed, 900-kilogram animal that had put 6 trained handlers in the medical bay, making a choice in that corridor about what kind of threat required its full attention and what kind did not. It had made the same choice on the first night, in 4 minutes of stillness when Reyes sat down on a crate and went back to reading. I don't know what the Dravek recognized in him. I know that it recognized something. And I know that when I pass Pit 4 now, way through the compound to the assessor's office, the gate has been rebuilt, and the amber glow is dark, and through the observation slit, I can see Cadet Reyes sitting on the equipment crate with his datapad, and the Dravek lying beside him with its massive, scarred head resting on the floor next to his boot, and neither of them paying the least attention to anything outside that pit. I think that is probably the complete picture. The board will have to decide what to do with it.